Hello everyone, I'm here to show you how to make a ladder in UE4 C++. Here's the end result. You can go up and down, get off the ladder, then you can go back down. It's a little finicky on the down end. You can go back down. Well, that's just the end result. You can go up and down, and once you get back on it, you can go down. Now I'm going to go into the character first. Actually, I'm going to go into the editor. I'm gonna tell you to go into the input settings. I'm gonna ask you to create a function input action key called move backward and bind it to the S. I'm going to then here you're gonna leave move forward the same and move right the same, and the turn rate the same, the lookup the same, the lookup rate, the lookup, and the turn the same. Just create a input action, call it move backwards and move forwards, and there you go. And for the move backwards, you're going to set the scale to -1 because that affects it also in C++ and in Microsoft Visual Studio by setting that to -1. Leave that to the +1, set that to -1. Oops. I'm going to start out with the character, and we're going to go to the functions. I just created a move forward and move backward void, and just set this value. Just create it with one little parameter here. That's the value inside of Unreal Engine. They don't tell you this, that in the details panel in the input action key, that value that you change from -1 to +1, it affects this float whenever you bind this to an input action. So I'm going to go over here, and you see where the setup player input component, once you set that function to be a to the bind axis, as a bind axis, the value is then transferred over from inside Unreal Engine to this function. So now just create a bind axis, call it move forward and move backward. Move backward. And inside the move forward key, also you will need a boolean. Just call it move up. I just called it move up. You can call it whatever you want. I mean, I don't think naming at this stage is really important, but you can name it get on ladder, however you want. I just call it move up because you're trying to move up the ladder. And if move up is equal to true, you set the E movement mode flying, get character movement, set movement mode to flying, and add to the movement input, and get the actor up vector and set that value and put that value and pass that value into the function. Then if move up is equal to false, then you set the movement mode to walking. You get character movement, set movement mode to walking, add movement input, get the actor forward vector, and pass in that value. Also, you're gonna need this include the game framework character movement component. To move backward, same thing, except this time, well, it's the same, it's basically the same thing, except the value is different because of what you had passed in, of what value you set in Unreal Engine to -1. This is -1. This value is equal to -1. And you set the movement mode to flying. Then else if get character movement, set movement mode to walking. And add the movement input, get actor forward vector, etc. These are the only two functions you will need for this. Inside the ladder, also for those who don't know, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to show you how to create a new actor. I want to create a new actor, you right click, new C++ class, where it says actor here, press next, set it to ladder. Ladder, or however you want to call it. And you'll create it here. Open that up. Go over here to ladder. You're going to need an include box component, static mesh component. These are the includes. You'll need these includes. And I'll go inside of the ladder itself. The ladder.h. You'll need a ladder mesh and a ladder box component. And U-box component, and you'll need a class of use static mesh component, ladder mesh, and you call box comp. You'll need two overlap. You'll need a an overlap enter, which is this, and an overlap end, which is that. Here the function parameters and the function name. Don't worry about that timer. Don't worry about this either. That'll be it for the .h. Inside of the .cpp file, here's the ladder mesh. You create a default subobject of uStatic mesh component, and then you call it ladder mesh. Then create a box, call it uBox component, name it box. Then set up attachment to the ladder mesh. Box setup attachment to the ladder mesh. Box on begin overlap, add dynamic. You'll need this because if you do not use these functions here, these overlap functions will not work. Inside of Unreal, had an issue with the end overlap because of this, because I forgot to add this. And now what you'll do inside of these voids, inside of these overlap functions, you'll need to cast to the player character and set the parameters other actor to indicate that's the actor that is entering. You'll set the player movement mode to flying through this cast, player get movement, get character movement, and set the movement mode to flying. Player move up, true. Set the move up variable to true inside of the player. Then once you end the overlap, you get the movement component, get the movement, get character movement component, and you set the movement mode to false. Movement mode to walking. Once you exit the overlap, and set the movement mode to false. Set the move up variable to false, which that variable is this one right here, side of .h for reference. I thought this would be a good tutorial to share. I know the Fallout tutorial is still there. I'm just sharing more rather than sticking to one thing to kind of veer off into different territory to something different for now. So here's here's this ladder, and let me go back to the end result again. All right, so you go on the overlap. I'm entering the overlap. I enter the overlap. Oop. It's flying off the ladder there. Now you're on top of this block here. Oh, also I forgot to mention, in order to create a blueprint class based on the ladder, you right click, create this underscore BP. Ooh. Ladder underscore BP. Put that in the blueprints folder. Create a blueprints folder. Go over here. Set this ladder mesh to being a cube. And then you mess with the scale through these numbers here. On the X, Y, and Z. On the X, Y, and Z axis, you mess with the scale on the pitch. I mean on the Z axis. And here, with the box, you can mess with the transform using these tools here. And then once you have it the way that you want it, then you use the ladder. That'll be it for this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for your time. Have a good one. Stay safe out there.